All right, well, speaking at a conference earlier this week, Morgan Stanley CEO James Gorman threw down the gauntlet. If you want to get paid New York rates, Gorman said, you work in New York. None of this, I'm in Colorado and work in New York and I'm getting paid like I'm sitting in New York City. Sorry, that doesn't work. And I think Gorman really just said the thing that everybody has been waiting to hear from more executives, which is that you can go remote, you can do hybrid all you want, but you are not going to get paid as you were before sitting in a centralized office in, say, New York City or Silicon Valley or Chicago, Miami, any other of these major, Washington, D.C., so on and so forth. Now, I think we're of two minds here. In the financial business, this has been a clear trend for a long time. And I think the kind of person who is attracted to the world of high finance, wants to work at a Morgan Stanley or a Goldman Sachs, is the kind of type A career-driven individual who wants to be at the office to prove themselves. And that kind of talent will remain attracted to that job. I think where things get more interesting, and we'll go around the horn here, Julie, I'll go to you first, is whether across other industries, companies that can't say, one day you'll get staffed on a deal or make partner and you'll get carry such that you can send your grandchildren to private school for their whole lives. If you just have a regular job, are you so incentivized to come back to the office when, things have mostly been working out quite all right?
I don't know how I feel. I mean, listen, James Gorman can say whatever he wants. He's the head of the company. These are his employees. They have to do what he says. He can decide that this is the culture that he wants for his company. And I don't think that there is a right answer or a wrong answer that a company is better when everyone's in the office or when people get to work at home. Everybody's going to make their own decisions. I don't know. I'm like so over this argument to some degree. Like I'm not, but I am. But it's just, I don't know. I don't know what to say. I know what I want to do, but.
Well, what do you want to do?
I'd like to be back in the office. Most of me would like to be back in the office. But I don't know. But then when I go back to the office, maybe I won't want to. Maybe I'll want to be at home. I don't know. Most of me wants to be sitting on a beach somewhere. But we got to bring home the bacon, don't we?
Well, Gorman put it pretty well, and it was really simple. If you can go to a New York City restaurant to go spend $100, $200 on dinner or whatever you might want to spend on dinner, you could go back to the office. And I would happen to agree with Gorman. Look, and I'll use our example last week of us all meeting up.
Wait, if I might though, that implies that the reason that someone doesn't want to go into the office is safety. And I think increasingly what this debate is turning to is that it's not really about safety anymore. It's about lifestyle. It's about quality of life and what people want from their working lives, right? So going out to dinner with people doesn't really, in that case, then have anything to do with going into the office, does it?
Well, I think he's making the point that if you feel safe enough to go out to dinner with one person, two people, whoever you go out with, you should feel safe to go into an office that has likely been restructured. You're not going to be sitting the same way you were as you were pre-pandemic, or you might be sitting on a hot desk. Look, I think we all come from a generation that has grown up that you go to the office and it is generally helpful to your career advancement. So in that regard, it's time to go back to the office. I think you learn a lot more about your job, about your fellow coworkers, and you ultimately do get a lot done. I have no problems with it.
The office is a complete waste of time. The office is where you mostly BS with your colleagues and then pretend to get done with work, and you end up answering the emails you have to or write the stories you need to when you either cordon yourself off in a small conference room for some amount of time, or you do it at home. But no.
But this is why the blanket statements don't make sense. That's what it means for you to be in an office. For me, it means that I don't have to make breakfast for my kids and can actually focus on prepping for this show. So that's why it's not universal that the office is right or wrong for everyone.
I started the conversation, though, with the commentary on the specific industry that Gorman is in, because I think that industry, and honestly, how different is financial media in terms of the culture around it from the industry that it covers. It's not that different. Everyone ends up essentially adopting the mindset of the financial companies and the financiers that we are talking to, one which values things like being in the office and showing that you care. It's a competitive space. They're both competitive industries. I just think most jobs are not that competitive. Most jobs have been done just fine, if not better, from a distributed workforce standpoint. And the reason that companies want to bring employees back, I think for the most part, is so that bosses can say they did it. They can say they have oversight. And that, to me, is just not a very good answer. But I mean, I think to some extent we're kind of talking past each other here. On the other side, I think it's just our preferences. I would prefer not to go back to the office because I like working at home just fine. I think it's different for other people. And I think that's kind of where it's come down to. And I would say that's a failing on the part of corporate America. It shouldn't have just been, well, your employees are having a free-for-all argument with each other over what they want. You should have outlined your priorities and the reasons why before you started saying things like, well, if you want to get paid New York prices, you come to your New York office. That's not a very nice way to say it. And it's not a really thoughtful way to say it either. It's basically bullying. And so I think we had a lot of time to figure out ways to not go about doing it that way. And, here we are, worst of all worlds. Anyway, we'll continue this conversation in the weeks ahead.